Thank you so much for coming out tonight. This is really just absolutely astonishing. Brian and I, my counterpart, the New York State Director, we do these kinds of meetings all the time. And unfortunately, with the downturn in the economy, we've really seen kind of a downturn in attendance and a downturn in the ability of people to make it out, to learn about how to make a bigger impact for animals. So I am just flabbergasted at the response here tonight. Thank you so much to Animal Care Sanctuary, to Wendy and Joan. You are the model for how things should be done, and this meeting tonight is really a testament to you and the work and the outreach that you've done. So thank you so much for having us here. And please forgive the little interloper. I do a lot of emergency response. I'm chair of the board of the state animal response team. So with the ice storm, we had a lot of people, about 2 million Pennsylvanians, displaced from their homes in the cold. And when they go, the animals have to go with them. So I've been running animal shelters across the state for the pets of people who are displaced by the storms, which meant I wore out my babysitter. So when it came down to canceling at the last minute or bringing a really adorable baby, kind of went with the bringing the adorable baby. And I've got to say, he has done a full day of lobbying in Harrisburg, and he did very well. But I wanted to start off tonight about talking about friendship. Because, of course, we're angry. I mean, I get it. We see it every day. And unlike the way it used to be, where something terrible happened in your community, and your community knew about it, and that was it. Well, now something terrible happens in our communities, and the whole world finds out. Brian and I get constantly bombarded with case after case, and the Humane Society of the United States, the organization that we work for, was organized to try and take that statewide and that national view of the root causes of animal cruelty and plug the holes where local shelters just don't have the resources to do it. So we focus on training for law enforcement. We have 2 18-wheel rigs that can come in and are capable of setting up shelters for hundreds of dogs when necessary. And what our most important role is in the state and national legislatures to try and bring public policy change for animals. But as good as we are, and we're good, I'm telling you right now, we're competent at our jobs, we are only as good as the support we have from the local constituencies, because as much as Brian and I can go in and take pictures and make the argument and say, come on, you've got dogs, I know you do, you've got a cat, you care about animals, you care about our natural resources, please make this vote to protect the animals. We're up against a lot of other interests, and we're up against a lot of money, frankly, that comes in to try and block animal protection legislation. So unless your legislators are hearing from you, Brian and I are just talking ourselves into circles. So when I talk about friendship, there's 2 kinds of people in elected office. Anybody got to guess what kind? I'll give you an easy one. Men and women?
No.
Republicans and Democrats?
Competent and incompetent.
Competent and incompetent. My favorite, crooked and honest.
Okay.
The truth is there's only 2 kinds of people in elected office. Your friend or someone else's friend. If you are not the person talking to your legislator about animal protection issues, I guarantee you there's somebody else who's doing it. It's your job as a concerned citizen, as someone who cares about animals, as someone who wants to see change, to be that voice in their ear. Your goal that I would love for each of you to adopt tonight is that when an animal bill comes up for a vote, your legislator picks up the phone and calls you, because they know you're going to show up at that town hall meeting. You're going to make that phone call. You're going to download the Humane Scorecard and find out how they voted and say, what gives? Anytime that they don't vote in favor of the animals, because you know your communities. You know your churches, you know your schools, you know the local supermarket girls, and you know that they care about animals. This is a huge turnout. I would challenge any other community organization to get this many people together in support of one of their causes. It is so simple to lift up that phone, to write that email, to do a handwritten card that says, thanks so much, Representative, or, Senator Scarnati, who's a local senator here. Thank you so much for everything that you did to bring House Bill 164. That's our next bill that's going to come to the Senate floor. House Bill 164 to the floor for a vote. I mean, when you think about it, how often do you get thanked? If you have children, never. Doesn't happen. But how good does it feel? There's theories out there amongst psychologists and anthropologists that appreciation is the single most important human emotion. And how much of us get involved with animals and rescue work because The animals appreciate it. That little tail wag, that cocked head, those loving eyes, it's appreciation. Well, your legislators are animals too. And they love the little pat on the head every so often when you can give it to them. And you get so much more interest and input and return phone calls with that teaspoon of honey than with a whole bucket of vinegar. So while I want each and every one of you to make sure, all right, how many people know who their state legislators are? Good job. Well done. If not, there are so many easy ways to find out. The state legislature has a great website. You just plunk in your address and it tells you who your representatives are. And all you have to do is you can talk to me, you can talk to Joan or Wendy. They'll tell you about what's happening in Harrisburg, what's coming up. We'll help you write the email. We'll help you make the phone call. We'll give you the fact sheet to take into the meeting with you. And what we've got coming up is Brian has Lobby Day in New York on April 9th. Pennsylvania, we have Lobby Day coming on April 28th. It's going to say April 9th up there as well, but we had a date change because we lost our room. But April 28th is going to be Lobby Day in Harrisburg. And if you can possibly take off a Monday to come to Harrisburg, we're going to give you the boots on the ground guide to lobbying. We're going to give you all the fact sheets you need. We're going to make those appointments with your legislators for you, and we're going to send you off with a pack of experienced people to come knock on your legislator's door and say, I care so much about animals that I hauled my cookies 4 hours to come down here and tell you about it. And I can tell you, and Joan and Wendy can tell you, about how legislators' tunes change when they find out just how much you do care, and that you're going to ask and you're going to hold them accountable. We have a number of legislative initiatives to help animals, and a number of them were enacted or introduced specifically in response to this case and cases like this. So there are right now, I know of 4 bills that are either raising the penalty for leaving an animal out in the cold or mandating that an animal be brought in from the cold, specifically a dog or a cat. One that was introduced today is House Bill 2046. It was introduced by Representative Chris Sonato, and that bill will make it a misdemeanor level penalty if you allow a dog to be left outside in the cold and that results in death. Basically, death by exposure will be a misdemeanor level penalty. So that language just was introduced today. So here's your very first ask. You can go home tonight, look up your representatives, and send them an email asking them to please co-sponsor House Bill 2046. I can almost guarantee you will get a response back, because animal issues have taken a brand new precedence in the legislature in the last couple of years, starting in 2008 with the dog law overhaul, when we completely changed the way that dogs are raised for commercial purposes in Pennsylvania. And it was the single most effective public advocacy campaign that the legislature had ever seen. We shut down the phone systems with phone calls. We shut down faxes with faxes. We shut down the email with the number of emails that they received because Pennsylvanians love dogs. I'm not saying we should do that with every bill, because I'd start getting kicked out of a lot of offices. But they have seen the power and the bipartisanship and the span across the Commonwealth that animal issues have. So thank you so much for having us here today. That'll be ask number 1. We've got a number of other bills that are coming for a vote. House Bill 164. And I specifically didn't bring fact sheets because I want you to email me and ask me for them. My cards are on the table. And if you really get in trouble, Pennsylvania@humanesociety.org will get you straight to me. House Bill 164 would make it a crime to have paraphernalia of animal fighting. It's the only loophole in Pennsylvania's animal fighting law. And what happens is that the animal fighters aren't as dumb as I would like to believe. And they will put dogs in one car and everything they need for the fight in the other. And if you can't put both of them together, if Sergeant Saskowitz pulls over somebody on a highway, and he's like, well, I see fish antibiotics, and I see sponges, and I see a treadmill disassembly here in this car, but hey, if there's not a dog, I can't prove dog fighting. You got to let that guy go. You'll now be able to make it a crime to have the paraphernalia of animal fighting. It's modeled on the drug code, and it is 1 vote shy of passage. So here is your task number 2 to your state senators. Dear Senator, please vote in support of House Bill 164 and ask that it be brought to the floor. And if you are a constituent here of Senator Scarnati, he's got the power to bring it to the floor. So your voice, your reaching out to him, might be the difference between this bill coming back for yet another 2-year session or getting done before June. It's really simple. You are votes, you are constituents, they care what you think. But you've got to make sure that they know how you feel. So if take nothing else from this tonight, get to know your legislators. Because what kind of people are there in Harrisburg?
friend.
Your friends or somebody else's? And since we seem to have lost, oh, there you are, Sergeant Staskowitz. I wanted to take a moment to introduce Sergeant Chuck Staskowitz of the State Police, who is going to talk to you about animal cruelty in Pennsylvania. He is the